Creative Scrapbookers, it's Kim here today with another technique taster. I've got on display some of the products I'm going to use. I'm going to start by showing you a layout that is almost completed, just to go over some of the design elements that I've added, and then we're going to add a couple of finishing touches to this. So my background paper is from the Wild Whisper Talk Foodie to Me. I cut out a square from the back to use, and I have a piece of Creative Scrapbooker Magazine Super Stock covering that square. I've cut these honeycombs out of that square that I cut from the background. Other elements that I've added on here, this honey jar is from one of the journaling cards in that paper collection. I wanted to use the whole card, but it didn't play well with how I was designing my page. This organic honey tag or emblem was actually part of the honey jar, so I've cut that out to use it as an embellishment. These little bees were not part of the paper. I took them from this little strip and cut one of the bees off of the stamp to make a single image and just randomly place them. I've also used the strip of them here as an embellishment. This little piece of border here was actually the page border that runs along the bottom of the strip to tell you what collection it's from, and Wild Whisper always throws on the back of it images that you can use within your layout. So I really like that. This label here was made using my Brother P-Touch Cube, and I'm going to show you how I've altered this. And I'm also going to show you how I put these little stamped bees on, which are from the Strength of the Season set as well. So let's get working on that. First we'll pull out our gel medium and we'll put on an additional stamp. For this technique, I take the stamp and I have used the Ranger Archival Jet Black ink. It's important that you use a permanent ink because we're going to be applying mixed media on it, and if it's a water-based, it will run and you won't retain that crisp image. So off camera, I've used this ink and I've stamped this bee onto a piece of tissue paper. And what we're going to do is we'll grab a little jar of water. It's good to have a cloth or a paper towel. And we're just going to run a wet brush close to the image. And then we'll just pull it apart. The water will make your tissue paper tear easier. And we want to tear around the bee. I like to have some of these fibrous edges that tearing allows to happen. You can cut around it, there's no wrong or right, but if you can see these little edges here, I just find a frayed edge blends into the background a little bit better than a straight cut edge. So we'll continue along with that. What I'll do next is take my Ranger's Media gel medium. I like to use the matte medium. It is my favorite. I'm not always a fan of shiny things. And the benefit of a matte, if you're working with mixed media, it lets you add more layers on without pushing them away. A gloss product will tend to repel. I like to put a little bit of mixed media on the back of my image, and then we'll add some to the paper. Be generous with it. This will dry clear and matte. I'm going to place this here, and then I like to put another generous layer over top. And you'll see as we're doing that, that tissue paper just kind of fades away into the background. So we'll just let that dry. Sometimes when you're doing this technique. Sometimes the tissue paper will blend right in without any distraction. Sometimes it will show a little bit. With these bees here, it showed a little bit. So what I did after it was dried is I took a little bit of yellow paint, mixed with some gel media so that it became translucent, and I just dabbed a little bit around the edges with my finger. You could use a brush just to blend it into that yellow background, and then I took a pencil and I just drew back in the honeycomb. So the next thing we're going to look at is this tag. And it might seem just kind of straightforward. Okay, yeah, that's a label that you've printed out and stuck on, but I've adapted my labels from the P-Touch Cube, and I want to show you how I've done that and why I've done that. So I'm gonna move this out of the way for a little bit. Off camera, I'm going to plug my P-Touch Cube in. This is a great little labeler. I have a white laminated label set up in there. It's very easy. You just pull this apart, it snaps back in. There's different styles of labels, colors of labels, types of labels that you can get. P-Touch Cube comes with an adapter, which I really like. If I'm working from home, my preference is to always have something that I can plug in versus using batteries. So I have my labeler plugged in, and I've just pulled out my iPad here so we can walk through the app. It's very straightforward. You can see here when you go in and open up the app that it wants me to select my P-Touch Cube, and I've got my machine on. It walks you through all of this. It said to confirm that my Bluetooth was on, so I'm going to come back here, go into Bluetooth, and we're going to press this one. It's telling me it's connected, so I can come back to my app. You're gonna press that, and now I have a connection that's working. If you come to the home screen, you have options of pre-designed labels, which I can honestly tell you I never go into. As a crafter, I'm always designing my own, whether it's a sentiment or labeling my stuff. So I go into create your own label. You can add text, you can add clip art, you can even add images from your photo stream, which is very cool. They'll show up as a black and white image. I have found that square is best, and you know, a simple image is always going to be better than something with a lot of detail, but it does print really well. I was surprised. We're going to go into the text and add text. And then I would type it down here. I work with a keypad for my iPad, so we're going to write "You're the bee's knees." Once I'm done, I press done, and I typically will just have the tape set to what it wants to print at. You can go in and customize it. You can go in and say, okay, I want this to be, you know, 120 millimeters. You get to do all of the editing you want. You can change the font size, you can change the font type. Lots that you can do. It's an easy program. I wanted to show you the basics, and then I'm going to print. I'm going to print one copy, and off screen, this is printing. See, there is our label. It has always has a little bit of a border over here when you're starting it, but if you cut it out, it will always shorten up to the words. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this, and on the back, it's very easy to peel apart. I like to put my labels on cardstock, and we're going to add color to it. You see on my layout, this is not white. this is a little bit of an orangey color that kind of ties into my photos. So we'll pull this out again. How did I get this to be a different color? I use alcohol markers. So it has to be an alcohol marker. A water-based marker or dye marker won't work on this. And one of the other benefits to an alcohol marker is they tend to be translucent, and that means they'll place color, but the black is going to show through. So I'll show you this. You can see when I color that, we've just adapted the color of the label. The darker component over here, that's just where my marker landed on the paper. So it's a different media, so it is a different color just by the porosity of that. If you want this darker, then you just go over and you layer another layer of ink on it. So what I do is I take the gel media, and it has to be matte, right? Matte dries matte, gloss dries gloss. I don't want gloss. So I'm gonna take the soft gel matte medium and just a little bit. And because we use the alcohol marker, which is not a water-based product, and this is a water-based product, I can layer them without affecting the alcohol marker. I have learned not to use a heat gun. If you're crazy careful, you can, but I have melted the laminate and have had to start all over again. So best to just let the gel media dry on its own. It's pretty quick, so within probably about 5 or 10 minutes, you can put on a second coat. For the convenience of the video, I have one already. I also honestly couldn't remember which font I used, so this worked out really well. This here, if you can tell now, we don't have a gloss to it, and we've got some nice depth to it. So I will just take scissors and then I just cut around my label. Now I have this fantastic little label with the words that I want to use, not a stamp that was designed by someone else, in a color that works for me, and the gloss has gone away. So that's how you can make little label embellishes to colorize and match your layout. I hope you've enjoyed these simple techniques. I use them a lot, and I hope you might try them out too. If you like this video, give Creative Scrapbooker Magazine a thumbs up.